Hello and welcome back to Refactoring Screencast. This is the fourth episode of the series. What we've done so far is we have managed to make this test pass, and it is actually penetrating the line we were aiming for, and it is also passing. What's next, what we would like to work on is to fulfill these conditions so we can get this line of code executed. So we start by writing a test here. Let's see what the functionality will do. So first, this actions weekly report default cards is a constant here that is an empty list. Okay, so we are checking here if it contains, we are passing the configured action cards in order. Top prior index is 0. So this is the top priority card name in a way. So if that's contained in the weekly report default cards, this variable will get assigned. Next, you'll get to this line. It checks the repository to find it, and if it doesn't exist inside, it will create new and it will save it. Okay, so we can name, back in the test, we can name this save new weekly default card, I think. Save, yes. Yeah, I think it's fine. So what we wanna see is this. Assert equals weekly card repository find user ID. So I think, yeah, so it will be the name of the top priority index, because only if it finds it, it will assign the variable. It doesn't exist here, that name, and out from that name it will create. So let's say here the first card name, because our configured cards in order will be the first and the second, and the top prior index will be the first. Then the weekly card will be actions weekly report default card. Weekly card is a weekly card. I will import this with card name, first card name, with user ID, the user ID, and then I'll build. I'm not gonna store anything in the repository. I will just have to make new instance of the legacy, pass there the repository, and then do the legacy, validate user context configured cards in, I have a typo here, cards in order, and basically I'll borrow from here. After I make this pass, I can actually remove this duplication from the test and make this initialization on top. Okay, now if I run this, I expect it to fail exactly. Let me run it with coverage to see if I'm penetrating the line that I expect it to do. Okay, running. Yes. So here it is. It is not penetrating there because this is empty. So this condition is not being executed. It's not being fulfilled. It is executed, but it is not satisfied. So this line of code is not being executed. How do we do this? Here is a technique that I would like to show in this video, which is called a seam. So if you read Michael Fadder's Working Effectively with Legacy Code, there is a concept that he is calling by seam, this is the word. I'm not native English speaker, so I'm not sure if I'm clear when I say it, but that's what I mean. How do we do this? First, I'm gonna see where I am. I will do failing test. I want to check this in. Failing test for saving new weekly default card. Sorry about that. Okay, and yeah, so how do we introduce a theme? So here, I'm gonna create a function out of this. I'll make it protected. So I will be able to override it if I want to. Basically, the functionality of this code didn't change. I'm just delegating to a function that returns effectively what was used in first place. Then I would like to check this in. Introducing a theme. Oops. So my commit didn't work, I guess. Okay. And now, yeah. Then what I can do here is I can do new testable legacy and pass there the repository. What I'm doing right now is I'm introducing a subclass to test. This concept that I'm doing right now is what we refer to as a subclass to test. I take the repository, I pass it to the super. I want to make this class static, so it's not gonna keep any reference to the actual testing class. And here I will just overwrite the theme that I introduced in the actual production code. So one point that I want to make here is the following. When refactoring, we introduce these things. So for example, if you are using language like Kotlin, having a class like the legacy by default is final, so you cannot easily override, or like creating a function protected by default, you cannot override it because all the things by default in Kotlin are final. So you have to explicitly say when you want to override something to open. That's fine. When working with the legacy code, until you tackle the code, it's fine to introduce all these things and keep track of them, because once you have the confidence and once you're sure that you preserve all the behavior that you want, you will start refactoring, and eventually you will end up in a much better position. You will get rid of all those things. Most probably we're gonna see in these videos how that's done eventually, but yeah, for now, just keep in mind that it's fine. So we increase the complexity of the complex code, and that's normal. When working with legacy code, we do have to many times increase the complexity, and then once we start refactoring, the complexity will get way lower. We'll end up in a way better position. Okay, let's continue. So here I'll return the first and the second card names, and that way I think the condition will be satisfied. Let's run with coverage and see where we are. Exactly, the line is getting executed. What's the failure? Yeah, the failure says that the actual objects are different because I haven't overridden the equals of this class. First, I would like to check this in. What I've done, introduced a subclass to test. Okay, next I'll open this one and just override the equals. Well, I cannot override only the equals, it overrides both, but I don't really need the hash code. Equals would do alone. Get back to here, run the test, and it should work. Exactly. And now if I run with coverage both of the tests, I am covering all the code all the way down. So let's see first if I'm clear. I'm not, and I'll commit this. Well, what I want to come up with a better naming. Well, first here I think I've done something that I should, yeah. So these empty spaces, I don't want to check in. Get back. Yeah, that's the only thing that I want to check in now. Git commit message made actions weekly report default card can be compared to another instances. Yes, it's not that it wasn't able to be compared, but yeah, when I just see the commit message, it will force me to look what I've done, and it's gonna be clear. Okay, so first I would like to remove this duplication for now. So if I just cut this and paste it there, run, see if everything works. Oops, legacy was not supposed to. Well, I can actually extract it as well. What I can do, I have it. No, what happened? Let me back off. Okay. So I'll cut these. Yeah. Paste it here. Run. It works. And then I think this and this can be deleted. I'll run. It works. I'll just make these things private. Yeah. Then also what I can do is I can make this a field, make it initialize it in the setup. I don't need this exception here. Yeah, and there we go. So I think now we're in a better position. Okay, so this one here, I need it still. We're gonna see how to get rid of this, but for now I think, okay, if I return the first legacy, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it for now like this, and then I'll remove this duplication when I will be ready to use the actual instance for this one, because that's something I'm planning to do. For now, I'm fine. This I'll keep, by keeping this duplication, I'll be forced to take a look at it later. I'm gonna see it. I'll run to make sure I'm fine. Yeah, and then I'll check this in. Duplication in tests. Nice. One interesting thing here is that now I'm running the test, they're running, I'm running the coverage, it says that I'm covered. However, this line of code, for example, if I comment it out, I run the test, they're still gonna pass. And if I run the coverage, it still says that I'm covering the things. However, this functionality here is not tested. And that's something that it might be a trap. So we have to be extra careful, as I said a few times before, extra careful when dealing with legacy code. So having the coverage tool is amazing, but we have to be careful when using it, because covering a line doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that we actually checked the functionality. So it's nice to know that we are penetrating the code, but we have to make sure that we are actually executing and preserving the behavior. So in that sense, I'm gonna make here, I'm gonna write another test to check this functionality. So what it means, what it says delete previously created, well, previously added cards from repository. Okay, so I want to make sure that the repository find user ID card name is null. Then in the repository, I'm gonna save card to save, which will be a weekly card with card name, the card name with user ID, and then I'll build it and I'm gonna save it. And what I have to do, I'll borrow this from here. And now what I'm doing here is I'm making a new testable legacy, which means it will use this first and second. And as we proved in the test above, the first card will be promoted actually as it will be saved here. But if I had a card before, it has to be deleted for this user ID. So here is a card for that user ID with card name, and when I query, it should be null. Let's see if that's working. Exactly. And if I actually now, what I'm gonna do is called defect injection. So I'm just gonna comment out this line, make sure that I am, yeah, exactly. So it is not deleting. Now I'm sure that this line is covered. So I have that behavior covered. Yeah. And then if I see where I am, added extra test to make sure cards, well, added extra test to make sure the behavior is preserved. Good. And yeah, so I'll just run all of the tests to see. Yeah, I'm good. I think that would be enough to wrap up this video. And what's left is covering the last if block here, and we'll proceed working towards that in the next video. I think for this one it is enough. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next in the next video.